Good morning. Hand today is going to be Queen 9 F spades. We are in early position. We choose to open raise. We get a call. This open raise range was a mistake. This is what we should be raising. I've known, and I mentioned it, that the ace 9 king 9 is in our range, and I have to remember to kind of play with those. I kind of thought queen 9 was in the range too. It's not. It's one of the one. It's the exception basically. Ace 9, king 9, jack 9. They're all there. Queen 9 is not. So this was a mistake. Shouldn't have done this based on these GTO ranges, but that's okay. I mean, we played it, and this could be a good spot to play it if we have a table of tight players, which overall we do. Nobody's really overly loose. Maybe the small blind, 24% VPIP, but nobody's like crazy loose. So, good chance we raise, just everyone folds. In which case, if we're saying that we're really not getting called a whole lot, then yeah, maybe throw in a hand like this. Maybe throw in just like a regular cruddy, just a suited one gapper, two gapper, maybe even a three gapper hand, just to raise, just to kind of mix it up, get the dead money since nobody's calling. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the queen 9 so that we have it in our range now moving forward. And now we've got this player. This player is playing 2010-2. Looking at his stats and what he calls with, it looks like he calls with Broadway hands, and that includes both probably suited and offsuit in this situation. So instead of typical, where it kind of starts adding suited connectors, suited one gappers and stuff, I made sure we just had Broadway up here for his call, added a couple suited connectors. We'll see. Pocket pairs. I know he's called with pocket twos. So I think this is going to be a pretty good range. This is 19%, and it fits with his VPIP in mid position, which is 21. Yeah, I do think there are going to be some hands that raise. I'm going to have aces and kings. What's notable is when we look at his raising hands 3-bet range, his 3-bet versus steal and his 3-bet range include both jacks, basically the same type of hands. So I do have an ace king where he just calls, an under the gun raise first in. So that for that reason, I went ahead and scaled basically 50% for ace kings and then 50% for queens and jacks. All right, we move forward with the flop, and it is jack 2. Oops. Jack 2. All right, so it's on us. You figure the jacks doesn't hit anyone. We have big pocket pairs. We have big pocket pairs. We do have backdoor flush draw. So in this case, if we think about some of our drawing hands, we don't really have massive draw hands at all. So, going at, three of a kind, or overpair plus and three of a kind. Oops. Yeah, overpair plus and three of a kind, we're looking at 20%, 21%, which means we have to come up with draws. So I think 2-card backdoor flush draws. Let's eliminate our queen or jack hands. We don't want to include those in our backdoor flush draws, even though we do have them. We do have the backdoor flush draws. That gets us to 30% immediately. We could probably do an underpair as well. Maybe like 6s and 7s, and maybe 8s, 9s, and 10s. Maybe 6s, 7s, and 8s. That gets us up to 43, and that's a 64% in a c-bet range. That's probably okay. I'm going to be curious to see what GTO recommends. But I think that's probably a decent balance. We're betting it. We've got some drawing hands, and we think about his range. I think he's going to have to fold all of these pocket pairs unless he's just stubborn. And that is a possibility. I mean, his fold C bets are actually fairly small, fairly low. Kind of makes me think that he's either playing tight cards, tighter ranges, and that allows him to connect like top pair plus, or maybe even second pair, a lot more frequently than other players, or he just doesn't like to give up hands like he calls with ace high. So against his stat, this might be a possibility of not c betting as much. In which case, I think some of our three of a kinds are going to probably be checks. We're going to go for some value with some, and then go for checks with others. So we're going to go with that c bet range for now, and then we kind of figure he's going to call with, let's say, any pair, and maybe even an ace high. Let's see some of these hands that he called with. Called with the queen 10, and it was checked. King jack, he flopped top pair. Jack 10, he's in position. He went first in, and then he bet. Yeah, it's hard to see. Yeah, raise flop c bet with overpair or less and no draw. Okay, so yeah, that's continuing. 42% fold, 60%. I think we need some more, so maybe give him all of the overcards as well. That's probably okay. So we do bet. We bet 2/3. That's possibly right. I mean, it's unlikely villain's going to connect, and especially if we have like aces, kings, or even a jack, and he's going to make some loose calls. Yeah, let's increase our bet. Let's get more money in there. So he does call. We see the turn of a 6. We picked up the flush draw, which improves our hand. Question is, are we going to improve fold equity? And really, if he's going to continue, I think at some point he's going to raise, but I kind of feel like full house and three of a kind's probably not going to raise. I mean, if I'm going to continue betting, why wouldn't he just continue just calling? So maybe at some point the three of a kind's going to raise on this hand, maybe, and we could scale it and say that kind of expect half the time he's going to raise with three of a kind now that the spade draws on there. Queen's probably just going to call. He's probably going to call these under pairs as well, because he probably isn't going to believe that I've connected. Probably the smaller pairs as well. He's got a flush draw in there that he would continue, so 60%. So we're only getting 40%. 40% folds, maybe a half pot bet here, just to try to pick up the money. The times he does fold, I think for us we continue betting. If we were betting c betting, he didn't fold, I think we're going to be betting our overpair, our three of a kind. We're going to go for some value here. And obviously if we bet and he raises, we're going to be able to fold our overpair. And actually our three of a kind, if we have like jack 9, jack 10, queen jack, we could probably fold those as well and just continue with king jack and ace jack. So I do like those bets. Value, or for bluffs, I think we're going for flush draw, and we're going to take out our jacks again. I think we were already going to include those as our bluff. That really takes out massive number of our hands, which kind of gets us unbalanced. So maybe we don't always bet with some of these other hands. No, we're still betting because I mean, GTO might say we don't, but I kind of feel like if villain's going to be calling, we need to still continue betting for value, and maybe that argues against making sure that we're even on our bluffs. So if we go for these undercards as a bluff again, that gets us to there, and we do have possibility of improving. Yeah, so maybe those, and we'll just continue. We'll just go with that. So what did I do? I did bet at half pot. He calls. So we've got it all set up, and then the 4 clubs comes out. I miss. We have to consider. I think we're still continuing our full house quads. I think 3 of a kind we probably still continue, although I think we're probably just going to limit it to King Jack plus. I think it overpairs, so I think we're going to keep like Jack 9, Jack 10, Queen Jack as a check call. I think it overpairs going to be a check call at this point. I think probably we've got maybe a weak pair, maybe ace high as just kind of a bluff. Probably not even all of our ace highs. Maybe something like that, just to kind of get us 2-1. And maybe we just check with a weak pair. We still have a pair. Actually, no. Instead of betting with the ace high, let's do our nothing hands where we really have no shot whatsoever to win. Like I don't expect to win with any of these, and maybe that too. So I think at that point we're probably good. So Queen 9's probably just going to be a check. He checks behind. And the idea is, with our check, he's going to call. He's going to, I assume he's going to raise quads. He's going to raise full house. He's going to raise. I kind of think 3 of a kind's going to raise, like ace jack, definitely. King jack's maybe like a 50-50. Overpair's probably just going to check. I think he folds to nothing. I think he probably folds the weak high, the ace high, and I think if we bet again, the weak pair is probably going to fold. So I just kind of feel like that's 19%, and then I think you're going to get a lot of folds here. So I guess or nothing. May have had Queen 9 as a bluff. So I just think something like that. So it did go check check. He shows 8s, which is that middle pair, and the question is, if we bet, would he have called it? And I'm not sure if he would have called it, but it's interesting that he made this call with the 8s like he did, because he obviously wasn't going to give me credit for having a jack, which I mean I don't blame him. It's going to be hard for me to have a jack when 2 of them are out. But I still could have had an overpair. So let's get a note. I think this is hijack is what he's in. Yep, from hijack with 8 of clubs, 8 of spades. He is in position. So he called 66%, called 50%, and checked behind on a jack of diamond, jack of hearts, 2 of spades, 6 of spades, 4 of clubs. All right, so we've got notes here. Let's go ahead and bring GTO in. It is ready to run, so we'll run it and we'll be back. All right, so it's done, and this is interesting. GTO has us checking almost 100%. We just have small percentage, so I could say, well, yeah, that's great. We should be betting, or we can bet. Yeah, that's true, but again, 100% check. So I'm wondering if we check and he bets, are we calling? Queen 9 looks like a fold. Just be done with it. And that assumes villain's going to be betting a lot of his hands, a lot of his junk hands. So I kind of think the idea is that, you know, it's the draws. We don't really have draws. That must be what's going on. Yeah, we've connected. Let's go back and take this out. You know, when you think about what kind of draws we had to use, 2-card backdoor flush draws, and maybe those aren't the good ones to include. Like, we include them occasionally to help fill out our semi bluff range, but like overall we don't have straights, we don't have, you know, regular flushes that can pick it up on the turn. You know, we're going to need 2 cards to hit to connect for us to actually make it. So, you know, if that's going to be the case, then it's probably better just to go ahead and check and plan to check call. We do have some check raises, and that is Ace Jack and King Jack that we have a check raise on. Quads is a call. So not only did we kind of make a mistake by playing the same in the first place, but we kind of magnified that mistake by going ahead with our C bet. Now we bet 2/3, and GTO is recommending small. So again, there's just problems with this hand. He calls, of course. GTO saying that the call on the flop is fine. Once we bet flop, then it looks like we are betting 55%. But again, we're betting such a small percentage that we should have pretty decent cards when we bet. GTO is still recommending, you know, a call. Some of the calls here. And I want to get to this spot. So then we bet again at 62%. And we do. I mean, you can see it. We've got very few combos. That's it. You know, 0.05 combos total. So if we throw out a bet, you know, it has villain calling again. So again, just probably calling to keep people honest, to keep, you know, bettors honest. But yeah, overall, this is just problems all around. Problems all around on this hand. Definitely attacked C-bet, hoping to get him to fold. He didn't, and that was kind of incorrect. So let's see. We check. Villain checks. Let's say villain checks behind, which is entirely possible with his eights. I don't think he has a whole lot of aggression. I think the note seems to be more on the passive side. So, you know, if we check, what's his float look like? 52%. So maybe he bet. Maybe he bets. So let's start with a check first. Let's say he checks. So it goes check, check. Then what do we do? Now we pick up the flush draw. Now we can bet. He's supposed to call. I'm going to assume he will call. 4 clubs comes out, and then Queen 9's back to a check. So it's just, you know, we can't win all hands. I think that's an important thing. We're not going to be able to win all hands, and just because you're in there and you hear we need to fight for pots, you can't fight for everything. And you probably shouldn't even be fighting for the majority of them, because most of the time you're not going to connect with this flop. You're not going to connect on the flop. So I think this kind of represents it. Represents it pretty well. Now, if he bets, what do we do with the Queen 9? Just fold. I mean, that's simple as that. We're going to fold the Ace 9, King 9, Queen 9. We do call with our over cards. You know, Broadway. So let's say we do call in that spot, and then we figure we check to him. If he bets again, then at that point we check. But if he just checks, are we ever going to lead out for a bet? I guess we probably could. I mean, he's got no made hands like King Queen, King 10, Queen 10. We're throwing out their aces. This is GTO. I wonder what exploitative play would say. I wonder if exploitative play would say, yeah, this check call is fine, and then when it goes check check, you attack. You're not going to have like super premium hands, but I think you could have decent hands. We could have picked up, you know, trip sixes. You could have picked up, trip fours, and that would have given us a full house. I think that's all probably in there. And then you balance it with just some of your other junk. All right, so let's end it here. This is kind of a mess of a hand. I really cost myself some money on this one. And you can see it went from 94 to 78, so that was 16 16 big blinds, 15 big blinds, on a hand that I probably shouldn't have been in, and then overall probably just would have cost me the initial pre-flop raise of 3 big blinds. I think that's probably what it should have only cost me. And I think I'm doing more of this right now. I think I'm probably making more C bets when I shouldn't, when I should just be checking. And I think that's probably due to one of the months when I analyzed it, where it seemed like the C bets were actually winning money. So it was paying off for me to C bet more than 70%, 80% C bets. People were folding, but right now they don't seem to be. All right, hopefully you enjoy this hand. Hopefully you're going to learn from my mistakes. And I hope I'd learn from my mistakes, but this was played sometime last month. And I still have hands from last month to review, so maybe we'll see another hand like this again. If you like this, you can look tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'm going to be recording tomorrow, but definitely on Monday we'll be back.